Anyway, in other news, Ed Miliband once described North Sea oil fields as climate vandalism.
Well, now the Energy Secretary is preparing to change the law on Britain's greenhouse gas emissions. But is this a good move from the Energy Secretary on two of the North Sea's most controversial drilling projects?
OK, well, joining us now is Director of Net Zero Watch, Andrew Montford. Andrew, what's going on here behind the scenes? Has Ed Miliband had quite a few people lobbying him, telling him that actually we probably shouldn't stop these projects going ahead? What do you think is happening?
I think what is happening is that the Chancellor has been putting enormous pressure on Sir Keir Starmer to force Ed Miliband to change course. Ed Miliband, I think, he's absolutely against these projects. He is nothing if not a fanatic on these subjects. But the Chancellor has a big problem. She's running out of money very quickly. And, you know, the North Sea, if the North Sea collapses even further, as you know, it appears to be projected to do, she's going to have even bigger problems. So this, I think, is signalling a complete change of direction on the North Sea. So I would hope this will also lead to further changes on the windfall tax, which is decimating the oil and gas industry in the North Sea. It is a glimmer of hope, if you like.
Andrew, it is fascinating, that analysis, because, of course, it stands to reason. If you pump oil and you sell that oil and you sell that gas, you get money. You get a lot of tax revenue that helps the Chancellor plug her financial black hole. And you see that with oil-rich nations. They're rich nations. But listening to Ed Miliband for the last 20 years or so, and people like him, he's been saying that we've been subsidising North Sea oil and gas. You often hear this accusation that we're wasting money subsidising our oil and gas sector. I mean, clearly that's nonsense.
It is absolute nonsense. It's a myth. Well, it's a lie, really, that has been put about by the Green lobby, if you like, to try to distract people from the fact that we are pouring subsidies into renewables.
How do they come about this? How do they come about with
Yeah. So what they do is that they say, well, oil and gas should have much more taxes on it than it actually does, and therefore that's a subsidy. Essentially, you know, it's as dumb as that. They're just pretending that it should pay more tax, and that amounts to a subsidy. It is a complete and total nonsense. There's another one they put about, which is that oil and gas fields get tax credits at the end of their lives, which again is complete disinformation. You know, a tax credit just means that they haven't got any income to offset their expenditure against. So, in fact, they're at a disadvantage compared to other companies.
I mean, Andrew, this will be actually very embarrassing if Ed Miliband is seen to completely backtrack on North Sea oil. It was the first thing he did, was it not, to halt new oil and gas in the North Sea, to say absolutely not, we're not going to be doing that anymore, calling it climate vandalism and the like. But what I really care about, apart from our energy security, is this affects so many people. You know, people's jobs, people's livelihoods, businesses' futures, and they just seem to be changing the rules all the time. There must be so much confusion. People don't know if they're still going to have a job by next year. People don't know if they're going to be able to make a profit by next year in this country. And it just has such a negative impact on so many people.
Yeah, I mean, the country is heading into a downward economic spiral. You know, energy prices are too high. Companies are going out of business, which means that the tax take falls, and the whole economy, you know, then they have to raise taxes even higher, and it just goes on and on and on. So the only way to reverse that is to change some of these crazy decisions that they've made over the last 12 months. So oil and gas is one of them. We're also hearing that they may change direction on non-doms, on sort of, trying to get some of the rich people back to the UK, or at least to stop them leaving, which will help shore up tax revenues as well. So yeah, that's good. I think they have to look at the windfall tax as well. I think that's very important if we're going to get the oil and gas industry.
Yes, on that point, Andrew, I mean, this change in the law only takes us back to where we were, what was it, 12 or so months ago, when there was that ruling that said that new oil and gas projects wouldn't fit within the carbon budget that was set by the Climate Change Committee, because you have to take into account not just the carbon emissions of the project.
Oh, yeah.
But the carbon emissions of burning the oil or the gas, wherever that is done later down the line, which of course makes basically any fossil fuel extraction not fit within that carbon budget set by the Climate Change Committee. I mean, this is only taking us back to where we were 12 months ago, and the industry was still suffering.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as I said before, it's a glimmer of hope. They really have to go much further. I mean, the problem is that the courts come up with these crazy interpretations of the law. I mean, we have this idea that the courts have essentially invented that we have a right to a stable climate, and that means that, as you say, you've got to take into account the downstream carbon emissions as well as the ones that actually emerge from the drilling platform. I mean, it is a nonsense. But so much of energy policy in the UK is a nonsense. I mean, you think back to things like the shale gas arguments of several years ago, when they put in place these absolutely crazy seismic limits, which essentially killed the industry, and that has lost an astonishing amount of tax
You're absolutely right. I mean,
revenue.
there doesn't appear to be much joined-up thinking, and the backtracking on decisions is just so unhelpful. Andrew Montford, we'll have to leave it there. Director of Net Zero Watch.